What's going on, guys? It's Jordan Richards here from Destination Devy, and I'm here to provide your Dynasty stock watch for Mayo Media Network. Please subscribe to Mayo Media Network to get all of their wonderful content each and every day that Pat and others provide. Drop this video a like if you like this video, and give me a comment below. Let me know who your favorite risers or fallers are for the 2020 season so far through 2 weeks. Now heading into week 3, the theme of this episode is going to be sophomore season, sophomore step up, however you want to call it, because there's been a lot of great things I've seen from sophomores so far, and I really want to tell you guys all about them if you haven't been paying attention or you aren't aware of how good some of these players are really doing. The first player I want to talk about is Deontay Johnson, wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, in the offseason, there was a lot of hope that Deontay Johnson could ascend and become a bigger role in this offense. There was reports that JuJu was going to head to the slot, and then Deontay would then resume the role outside as the primary wide receiver. Now, of course, through 2 weeks, we've seen that come to fruition with his 31% target share. 31%! That is insane. Adam Thielen is the only player in the NFL to have over a 30% target share besides Deontay Johnson. JuJu SmithSchuster right now is being lifted up by his touchdowns, and you guys need to realize that Deontay Johnson is the alpha wide receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is Big Ben's #1 target, and while that target share may not sustain throughout the entire season, he's going to be the alpha wide receiver in Pittsburgh this year and is only going to continue to ascend throughout the season. As we've already talked about, that 31% target share is massive, and he's currently on pace for 170 targets. I understand that's not going to happen, that's not sustainable, but it's very easy to see how he could be a 130, 140 target guy with already 23 targets through the first 2 weeks of the season. He's the third highest targeted wide receiver in the NFL, and I expect that to continue throughout this season. The only real concern is his touchdowns. He's not the primary red zone threat. That's JuJu SmithSchuster, as we saw in week 1, but that volume is what you want to go after. You want to go after volume in Dynasty, and for a guy who was a double-digit round pick, he could easily be a top 4, top 5 round Dynasty startup asset by the end of the season, and maybe even sooner than that if he continues to produce at such a high level for fantasy owners. Now, the second guy I want to touch on is DK Metcalf, wide receiver from the Seattle Seahawks. DK saw a massive rise in ADP over the offseason, and that's because there was a lot of hype about him becoming that alpha wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, through 2 weeks, we've obviously seen that come into fruition as well. We've seen DK go absolutely off against the Atlanta Falcons, and it doesn't matter who DK goes against, whether it's the dumpster fire Falcons or the reigning defensive player of the year in Stephon Gilmore. Through 2 weeks, it's clear to see that DK is here to stay. He's an alpha wide receiver, and he is going to be one of those main ingredients in that Russell Wilson kitchen that they've been talking about. Now, of course, Seattle, they're letting Russ cook. Russ is going off, and each and every week, he's probably the front runner for MVP right now. He's been so good. But the thing is about DK is that he's wide receiver 3 in PPR right now. He's going to keep getting those deep targets. He's a massive touchdown threat. Easy double digits could be in his potential this season. DK is going to be probably, again, 130, 140 target guy, depending on how the Seahawks choose to play this season. But the way things are going right now, I see no reason why DK can't be a top 12 Dynasty asset heading into next season, and potentially even higher than that, because his ceiling is just so high. His touchdown ceiling is so high. He plays with arguably one of the best passers in the NFL in Russell Wilson, and there's just nothing that is telling me or anyone that DK is going to be stopped when he puts up 95 and a touchdown against Stephon Gilmore and the Patriots just a week ago. He's only going to see more targets as the season goes on. He's only going to see even more things work in his favor. He's progressing as a route runner. He's becoming a better player. DK is a massive riser right now, and I see that, honestly, the ceiling is just immense for DK, and you need to be scooping him up while you can before he becomes unattainable in Dynasty. Now, the third player I want to talk about is Denver Broncos tight end Noah Fant. And obviously, with the injury to Courtland Sutton due to his ACL tear, we saw many injuries this week, but Noah Fant is going to be a massive riser as far as his Dynasty stock goes, not just because Courtland Sutton got injured, but it's going to allow for him to be the feature piece in this offense. Last season, we saw him really take off in the second half with Drew Lock, And this season, he kind of got off to a bit of a hot start again. Right now, he is sitting around an 18% target share with 2 touchdowns through 2 weeks. And I only expect Fant to be even more involved as the weeks go on in this offense. Now that the Denver Broncos know that they don't have Courtland Sutton for the whole season, they're going to have to rely on Fant as that safety valve for Jeff Driscoll, for Blake Bortles, for Drew Lock, whoever that quarterback's going to be this season throughout the various weeks. And Fant, I think, is going to be a guy who really takes off. He could be one of the best receiving tight ends, if not the best receiving tight end in the NFL by the end of the season. He is that much of a weapon in the NFL. He's that much of a weapon down the field. He's averaging over 15 yards per reception. He's a monster out there. He's a beast. He is a beast. You can't stop Noah Fant. You see him get the ball and you want to get out of the way. Defenders do not want to bring down Noah Fant. He's going to continue to rumble as the season goes on, and I think he's going to easily be a top 5 tight end this season and should be a top 5 dynasty tight end going forward. Now, I know I got to bring some stock downs. I've been talking about some stock ups. Unfortunately, the guy that I'm talking about as stock down is tight end Mark Andrews for the Baltimore Ravens. I know this is going to make a lot of people unhappy because Mark Andrews is an exceptional talent in the NFL. But one thing, like I talked about with Deontay Johnson and worried about his touchdowns, we can't worry about touchdowns because they're not sticky. They're not definitive. And the problem with them is they're worth so much that if you overvalue touchdowns, you can really see a lot of dud weeks. And I think what we're at with Mark Andrews right now is that he's a little bit touchdown dependent. And it's not because of his talent, it's because the Ravens don't need to pass the ball. They don't need, we saw them play against the Houston Texans and they didn't need to pass the ball to win. They hardly did. I think Hollywood Brown was the leader in targets with like 6 targets. Mark Andrews only got 3. He caught 1 pass for 29 yards. Compared to the previous week where Mark Andrews got 6 targets, caught 5 balls for 59 yards and 2 touchdowns. So everyone was calling him the tight end 1. He's the tight end 1. He's going to be the tight end 1. Well, the problem is that if they don't need to use him, they won't. And so that's the thing, is that with Andrews, he's a great talent, but I don't want to bank on that lack of volume, especially when he's not the primary option. Hollywood right now is the top target, and Andrews is tied with Miles Boykin. Some of you may not even know who Miles Boykin is, but he is the second targeted receiver, tied with Mark Andrews on the Baltimore Ravens. I would be looking to trade Mark Andrews because he still has a very high price tag in Dynasty. He was a 3rd round pick in this offseason, so he's still got a very high price tag. I just don't believe he's in that Kittle and Kelsey tier. I believe they're better runners after the catch. I believe they're in higher volume offenses. And like for Kittle, he's the primary target on his team. Kelsey is one of the primary targets on a very high-powered offense, has an extremely high touchdown ceiling. While Andrews has that touchdown ceiling, he doesn't have the volume, and so you're banking on those touchdowns. I think he's going to be a little bit too touchdown dependent week to week. That's your Dynasty Stock Watch for this week. Thank you for checking out this video. If you like it, drop it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to Mayo Media Network, and please follow me on Twitter if you want more Dynasty info. My Twitter is @ChaboyJRich. Thank you guys for watching. See you guys next week.